Hathaway House, Book 7, Gregory, written by Dale Mayer, narrated by Kristin Price. Prologue. Gregory Parkins stared at the application in his hand and wondered. He'd had this thing printed off and filled out half a dozen times in the last couple weeks, and every time he had balled it up and threw it away. Hathaway House was just one of many other rehab centers that he had thought of going to. He knew he needed to go to this one, though, but it wasn't so much for himself, but because of the woman he had left behind. He wouldn't have had a clue that she was even there if not for a write-up about Hathaway House that had hit the internet and gone viral. Something about Danny and her father and what they had accomplished since they built the center. The article had piqued his interest, and he'd gone looking to see what kind of a rehab center it was. His research had led him to photographs of the staff at the center, and there, sure enough, he'd seen the photo that had sent him into a tailspin. Meredith, the woman he had left behind the last time he had headed off on a mission. It had already been 5 years, but he'd never forgotten her. Gregory could only hope that she'd never forgotten him either. But the chances were she'd moved on, was likely married and had a family by now. But he didn't know that. Should he reach out to her? Or just ignore this? Ignore? His laugh was hollow, completely devoid of emotions. He knew he couldn't ignore her. Wasn't that evident by the number of times he'd filled out the paper applications only to crumple them up and throw them away? He and Meredith had spent 3 wonderful weeks together, and he thought he'd found the one. When he had finally told her that he was leaving again, she'd been heartbroken. Desolate. Her brother had died overseas, and she didn't want to deal with the same kind of loss again. Gregory understood, but he'd signed up for the Navy as soon as he could, right out of school. He'd been honored to join, and his career had fulfilled him every year since. No way would he walk away at that point. As soon as he left her, he regretted his decision. He knew he should have turned around and found a way to make this work, but instead, he'd buried himself in his work and had tried to forget her. And for a time, he'd managed. But then he had been blown up by an IED. Now, if he went to look for her, he would feel like he was second best, like he had only come back to her because he was no longer...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?